Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of our protocol, which is a Zoom that's centered around health and all the different aspects of health. So, as we know, like to be healthy, it's a combination of many factors, right? We all know that exercise, drinking a lot of water, diet are all very important parts, and also your mental state and happiness that also affects our health. So, all these things are a combination of what we need to do in our lives. And of course, there's other means to get there. And we're going to be touching on a couple of them tonight. Every week, we'll be having one call for the protocol. We'll always have some special guests on. Hopefully, Ethan can come up in, and Angela can come as much as she can. So tonight, we have two wonderful guests. We'll be touching on different things every week because we can't go over everything in one big chunk. So we'll put everything in little chunks. And yes, these calls will be recorded and shared to the community if you want to share with some of your people. I I love how happy Luigi looks. Thank you very much, Michelle. I love how happy you look too. And it's true that me and you have completely transformed. And why have we transformed? Well, I'm going to start with one reason why. We transformed because of a product called OlyLife. That's what really got me back to life. I think that's the same thing that happened to Michelle too. She can share a little testimonial also after Michelle if you want. Um, this product has done many things for me. I'm going to just touch a little bit on it, not very long, because I want Ethan to elaborate a little bit more on the technical side. Because Ethan is somebody who's a expert in his own field. He'll tell you what he is and his background, his PDG. But somebody that I've been working with for 4 or 5 months now, ever since I've been in OlyLife, I've always been reaching out to Ethan, even though we're not on the same team in OlyLife. I've always asked him advice, and he's always been very straightforward and helpful. All right, he didn't ask nothing in return, and that's something that I like because I love to surround myself with people that give without expecting anything in return. Because the universe works in magical ways where you give and it just comes back, whether it's now, later, or but someone else. But it's just the way it is. We get what we give out to the world, and sometimes you're just unexpected ways also that it happens. So I love Ethan, great gentleman, very knowledgeable too. I'm learning a lot from this man, and it's nice because now we get to also share his knowledge to our community because we're actually also working together in a couple of different ways. And I like that. I really think it's smart. So I'm going to start the first part of this equation with a short, very short overview of OlyLife, and I'm going to give it on to. So give me just like maybe 7, 8 minutes, and it's all yours. So basically, I was introduced to OlyLife products, which is the P90, the Terahertz, and all this technology that has completely transformed my life in many ways. The first thing that it did was it got my sleep back to normal, which is very important because you don't need to be a doctor to understand that you need a good night's sleep, right? That's where we regenerate our body, and that's where we heal ourselves. But with that, I also saw a couple of other things. Was my feet? I had dark shades on my feet, dark circles. That's from circulation, right? I'm 60 years old, and it happens. I also had a little bit of numbness between the toes. Now, when you look at a human body, where's the first part that people start having issues? It's at the bottom of their limbs, right? Because when we have diabetes, they don't amputate your hands, they amputate your feet. So at the bottom of our external, like our feet and going up, that's the first part that gets attacked when you don't have good circulation. So for me, after 1 month, I can happily say, and honestly, and everybody knows me here, I'm very straightforward. My circulation, my numbness between the toes have disappeared. My dark shades also have disappeared. It's done a lot of other benefits to me, like my mental state. I was in a big depression. I don't know how that affected my mental state, but it actually helped my mental state get back to being happy. And that's why I'm happy right now, Michelle. A little bit like your story too, if you want to share it after. So at a cellular level, this is not only helping my body, but it's also helping my mind. All these things combined have made me completely go from A to B. And a lot of you have seen my testimonials very often. I'm just going to show you very quickly, a before and after picture so you can have an idea of where I was and where I am right now. If I can find it here, is it here somewhere? All right, I won't take too much time on it. It's okay. Oh, there it is. Perfect. All right, I just found it. So here it is, a wonderful picture of Luigi about 10 months ago, exactly 10 months ago. This is Luigi at 270 pounds. I want you to look at him carefully. It's not just how big I was, 270. It's the state of mind that I was in. I had a hard time getting off of the sofa. I was sleeping all day long. I had no motivation, no focus, no passion. I was like 60 years old and dead. It's kind of sad, to be dead at 60, especially when in this day and age, the new 60 is the new 40, actually, with all the things that we can do to be healthy. Well, this is Luigi on the right side about 4 weeks ago when I did a live event in Toronto. I was 205 pounds. All of this came about because of this technology. Now, of course, the P90 and OlyLife did not do that by itself. What it did do for me is that amidst all the things that I told you, it also helped my motivation, my procrastination, because we all know what we should do. That to know something and to do it are two different universes. It's pretty hard. Everybody knows that we should not drink Pepsi, drink water, not eat too much sugar. When you're eating a meal, eat a little bit of meat with veggies. We all know that. Not too much pasta, bread, and all that turns into sugar. We know all that. But to know something and to do it is very hard. Well, this technology gave me the strength to be able to stop procrastinating and do everything I wanted to do with my life. And I've succeeded very well in the last 5 months using the OlyLife products. Of course, even though I've done very well, I'm always open to suggestions. I'm always open to learning because that's how we grow as human beings, right? We grow by learning. So there's never even doctors or lawyers continue going to school to become even more instructed because there's always updates they have to learn. So that's where talking with Ethan a little bit, he started opening up my eyes on everything that this technology was doing, but also how I could add to this journey that I'm going through. So Ethan, my dear respected individual that many of people here today, they all pretty much respect you. They like who you are. They like what you say, and they think that you are very knowledgeable. I'd like you to touch base a little bit on the technology of the P90, the PEMF and terahertz, and why it's helping us so much, and what could we do as a second step to also enhance that. It's all yours, buddy.
Awesome. Okay. So for those that don't know me, quick little bit of background. I'm a holistic practitioner. I've been in this space 35 years, originally training in kinesiology, then neurolinguistic programming, and then finally on to nutrition, frequency, all of that. So I've been involved with these devices since the beginning. In the West, actually, I was part of the group that helped to bring it across to the West. And I love the technology. I love what it's doing. I've worked with some clinics, and a few of them have told me the same story, which is to say that they've got very expensive frequency devices and $50,000 plus, and they've got better results with the P90, a home device, than some of their very expensive equipment. So this is not to be overlooked. This is a very, very powerful device, not just the P90, but also the Vitality Wand as well. Very, very powerful device. So I want to just explain a little bit about what it's actually doing in the body, why it's so powerful. If you ever want to look at studies, certainly the PEMF aspect of the frequency, there is a lot of studies on this. If you go to PubMed and you put in any disease, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, whatever you come up with, and look at PEMF and the studies on that, you're pretty much always going to find very positive studies where it's really, really helped. Now, the P90 and the Vitality Wand use a combination of PEMF with terahertz. Terahertz on its own is also amazing. I remember the very first person I used terahertz alone on was somebody that had chronic pain in their neck, and a 10-minute session fixed it permanently. They never needed another session. That blew me away, absolutely blew me away. Years and years and years of pain gone in 10 minutes just with terahertz. When these two frequencies are combined, they're even more powerful. And it really is amazing. So I'm going to, as I say, just going to explain a little bit about part of the mechanism that causes it to help so many things. So the most important part of your body when it comes to health is blood, because the blood is the vehicle that takes everything necessary to the cells and removes everything unnecessary or damaging. So if your blood is doing its job properly, all your cells will be healthy. If it's not, they won't. And so the blood is the most important thing that we have. Now, many people are having problems with their blood for a variety of reasons. Some people have had toxins injected into their blood. Other people were being exposed to lots of nanotoxins in the clouds, just every which way. I won't go into all the sources, I'm sure you guys know, but we're being exposed to a lot of nanotoxins, and they go straight through the skin, straight into the blood, and they do all kinds of damage. Now, one of the areas that this can be seen, and you've probably all seen blood under a high-powered microscope, and you see that the red blood cells are all sticking together in a roulage, often referred to as sticky blood. Now, sticky blood is a huge problem for a number of reasons. So the first problem is that the sticky blood reduces the surface area of each of the individual red blood cells. So you have less surface area, less ability to carry oxygen and other things. That's the first problem. The second problem is that now they're sticking together, they're not able to get into the very fine capillaries and the microcirculation, so you get a reduction of blood to some parts of your body. Often it starts in the extremities like the feet or the hands and so on. So since the blood's job is to carry nutrients, oxygen, immune cells to the cells, and to take away toxins and waste products, if it can't get, only 50% of the blood is getting there, it's not doing its job properly, then the cells start to struggle. And because you're made up of cells, that means you are getting less and less healthy, and you start to show symptoms. So we need to improve the health of the blood, and one of the things that we need to do is to separate those red blood cells so that they can function optimally. So what is the cause of the red blood cells sticking together like that? And whenever I ask people, rarely do they know the cause. Well, the cause is a deficiency, but it's not a deficiency of a nutrient. It's a deficiency of voltage. So we are electrical beings. We are basically a salt battery. That's what we are. And our individual cells are like the cells of the battery. And each of the red blood cells has a positive and a negative charge. When that voltage drops too much, what happens because of the voltage is that they push apart from each other in a similar way to two magnets. If you put them to the same pole to pole, they push away. Same deal with the red blood cells. So if you start to lose the charge, that pushing away gets less and less and less until they eventually stick together. So it's a voltage problem. So how do we fix a voltage problem? Well, how do we fix a voltage problem on a cell phone? We plug it into a charger, right? That's what we do with a cell phone. We charge that thing right back up and it's good to go. What about if you've got your mouse that's run with batteries, the batteries start to get low? In fact, what do we see? The cursor suddenly isn't moving around the screen properly. It's jerking around and we can't get it to move. We just plug it into a charger. Well, the P90 is a human battery charger. It charges this up. It increases our voltage. That is one of the big secrets of the P90 in what it does. We are a battery. It is a battery charger. It charges us up, increases our voltage. Something that, again, a lot of people aren't aware, but every single person who is sick has low voltage. Okay, if you have enough energy, you will heal. If you don't have enough energy, you're going to be fighting against it. So the P90 then increases our energy, our cellular energy. It increases the voltage. It causes the blood to separate and flow more freely. So it improves the circulation, including the microcirculation. Once the blood can get to the cells, then the cells start becoming healthy, start reversing all sorts of problems, including things like eyesight, which is why OlyLife have developed a specific device to target the eyes, because it's going to improve the microcirculation in the eyes. So the P90 does it across the whole body, but that's targeted to be even more powerful directly at the eyes. So improving the microcirculation, improving your voltage, improving the delivery of nutrients, oxygen and immune cells. If you have a problem in your body, some sort of pathogen, bacteria, fungi, cancer cell, whatever it may be, the blood has to take the immune cells to the place that's needed. If you've got poor circulation, that's going to mean much less in the way of immune cells reaching that area. That's why if you twist your ankle, you'll get a swelling. That's blood pouring into that area, taking immune cells. So your ankle might swell up, and that's because of the blood. If you don't have the ability to get enough blood there, it's going to compromise healing. So that's why the P90 and the other devices with, like the Vitality Wand and the Galaxy and so on, that's one of the key mechanisms on which it's helping all of us, because the life is in the blood, and if you can improve the blood, you're going to improve the outcomes for all different kinds of illnesses. So hopefully that makes sense as to why we see such amazing results on so many different things. It's simply about giving a better delivery system of nutrients, oxygen and immune cells, and at the same time flushing toxins out of the cells, because we are, as I said at the beginning, we're being bombarded with toxins. So that's a quick overview of the P90, and we're seeing on its own staggering results with the P90 and the Vitality Wand. Now, as a holistic health coach, my goal is to give all the tools that I can to help people heal, and there is no one tool that does absolutely everything. Okay, so I like to layer tools on each other that work with different mechanisms to achieve various different things. So one of the things that is very, very important, and you need to understand this, so the P90 flushes toxins out of the cells into the blood. It doesn't remove any toxins. So a lot of people are under the impression it's removing toxins. It's not. It's flushing them out into the blood. Now it's up to the body to do its job and remove those toxins, and it's going to take the toxins, hopefully, if you're healthy and you haven't got too many toxins, it's going to move them out of the body through the various detox pathways, including bowel movement, urine, perspiration, etc. So it's going to do that if you're healthy and if there's not too many toxins. But unfortunately, a lot of us are not super healthy, or we've got too many toxins, or we've got detox pathway issues, or genetic problems that make it more difficult, like MTHFR and so on. So a lot of us, instead of the toxins leaving our body, it's just being redistributed. So we flush the toxins into the blood. It's too much for our body to handle, and so the toxin is just moved from one place to a new place. And en route of moving from A to B, it's damaging our body. So that is not a situation that we want to be in. If you're very toxic, you might even, if you do too high a power on the P90 or too long, you might even feel the result of those extra toxins and get some kind of detox symptoms that may be unpleasant. You might get skin rashes, you might get headaches, flu-like symptoms. All of these are a result of too many toxins being flushed into your blood above and beyond what your body can handle. So, is there a way of helping the body to deal with those toxins? And there is a way. And so everybody that I have use a P90, I also recommend to them that they use a product that's called nano zeolite. So you may have heard of zeolite. It's a binder, but it has to be nano in order to be in the blood. If it's not nano, it's going to detox the digestion, and that's great, and we need to do that as well. But to detox the blood, we need something that can access the blood, and for that it has to be small. Now please understand that nano is not the same as nanotech. Two very different things. It's not nanotech, it's nano-sized. So because it's nano-sized, it accesses, it goes directly, it's actually a spray, you spray into your mouth, it goes through the mucous membrane into your blood in minutes, and then it sits there, and it's a toxin magnet. So this toxin magnet is able to remove a massive range of toxins, including heavy metals, including pesticides, herbicides, even radiation. It's huge, the range that it can remove. And one of the cool things is as well that it targets toxins and doesn't take the good stuff. So it's not removing magnesium from your blood and stuff like that. It's just taking toxins. So this sits in your blood. It's very, very tiny, and actually the smaller the size, the more powerful it is because it offers a bigger surface area. So it sits in your blood. It's inert. It has no biological activity. It has no receptor sites to go into. It just sits there. It lasts in your blood about 6 hours before your body removes it, and it removes it in the urine. So when you pee it out, it carries with it all the toxins that it's grabbed while it's been in your blood. Now, you don't have to have done a P90 to benefit from this. Even if you're not doing a P90, it's going to do that. If you're doing a P90 or any kind of frequency detox, you're going to have a greater amount of toxins in your blood, so it's even more important. It's going to reduce the chance of Herx, but more importantly for just about everybody, it's going to ensure that 100% of the toxins that flush into your blood that are captured by it are going to be removed from your body. None of it is going to be redistributed somewhere else. All of it is going to leave your body. That is a massive deal. A second massive deal is that and I've just lost my train of thought. I'll come back to that. I just forgot what I was about to say there. Okay, so it's as I say, it's inert and it doesn't compete with anything. It doesn't conflict with anything. If you're taking some meds or you've whatever food you might eat or whatever, it's not going to have any interaction with them at all. Now, because it's a toxin magnet, just like a real magnet, if you put a real magnet into iron filings, it's going to pick up those iron filings 100% of the time, right? Every single time you put a magnet into iron filings, it's going to pick it up. The same goes with this in your blood. It's a toxin magnet. Every time you have it in your blood, it's going to pick up toxins and it's going to remove them. So it works for every single person that takes it if you've got any toxins in your blood, and we all have. Even a baby is born today with in excess of 250 toxins in their blood, a brand new baby. So if you're wondering, have I got toxins in my blood? You have. Absolutely guaranteed. And what's going to happen with those toxins? Well, some of them are going to get out and some of them aren't. And while they're getting out or while they're being redistributed, they're harming you. So in my opinion, every single person should be using this product because of the number of toxins we're being bombarded with. Now, just like the P90 on its own, it has amazing results. For example, one of the groups of people that regularly use this are the people with high levels of toxins in their brain that we call, I don't know, I'm being careful with my words here, but well, let's say spectrum. Let's say spectrum. You know what I'm talking about. So these people, I've seen non-verbal kids that have not spoken a word get onto this. And in the fastest times I've seen is a single day they've started speaking their first words. Right, so that is staggering. So that group of people in particular, we see very rapid results very often. But as I say, it's for everybody. So on its own, it's an amazing product, just like the P90. But when you combine the two, because the P90 does its job so brilliantly of flushing the toxins, then this does a absolutely staggering job of grabbing them, neutralizing them, and removing them out of the body. To my mind, it makes absolutely no sense for anybody to not be using this. I think everybody should be using it. And whenever somebody gets a P90 from me, I always offer, hey, by the way, to get the best results, especially for the toxic people. Some people, they know they're toxic, those people especially, hey, you're going to really benefit from this. And I give them a little video to explain it. And as a consequence, I end up with happier customers that get better results from the P90 by combining these two. So everybody's happy. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the zeolite. That's it right there. It tastes like water, so there's no bad taste. Even kids that can't eat lots of foods and all the rest of it, have no problem with this. It's super easy to use. It literally is just under your tongue. Within a minute, it's in my blood. So let's move on. Unless you want to say something, Luigi. Do you want to just speak for a minute? You're muted.
I was waiting for you to finish your sentence. I didn't want to cut you off like I did on the last call. So that you got my cue this time. You actually gave me a little spot to come in. So thank you a lot, Ethan. So listen, I mean, I understood more and more talking to Ethan how all of this pans out. I always thought that because I knew the circulation for the P90 was improving. I knew that I was getting oxygen to the blood. I knew that I was also raising my voltage. All that's very positive, and that's why almost everybody in our community has been sharing awesome results for the last 5 months, like over and over. It doesn't stop. What I learned is that the device with the frequencies is actually getting the toxins out of our system, but it's sending it to the blood. And it's the blood that actually has the function of eliminating the toxins, right? Like you just explained. And they do that through perspiration, sweat, and your urine. But in some cases, when somebody has too many toxins, well, somebody can get a little rash because the toxins are trying to come out. And there's just people that are a little bit sicker that have a lot of toxicity. Well, honestly, even if I'm having some very good results with the P90, honestly, I'm having great results. I haven't had any side effects from doing it. Once you understand the technology behind it and you understand what it's also doing, and that now I understand that it's not a lot, maybe a percentage of toxins, well, they're not going to get flushed by the blood just that easily, and the metals and everything. Well, those toxins are just coming out of one part of your body, going into another part of your body. And on the way, it's actually harming you a little bit. Well, when I found that out, I said, okay, Ethan, I want some zeolites, nano, so I can get rid of those extra toxins. It's a binder. It just grabs it like a magnet and puts it out. So why be at 80% or 85% when you can be at 100% or 70% or whichever percentage you want to look at it? All right. So for me, it was an easy sell. So I just wanted to add that on, that it just makes perfect sense. Yes, Michelle, absolutely. And not only that, as we're getting older, our system works less and less harder, and there's always a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult to get rid of toxins because of many different reasons, which I'm not a medic or really an expert in the field. But after speaking to Ethan, it just makes perfect sense that basically everybody should, if they could, be using the nano zeolite with the P90. Now, that's it. Just wanted to add that.
Awesome. Okay. And the company that does this makes it extremely easy because they give a first-time customer an 80% discount. So they can try it for next to nothing, almost just like the cost of shipping. So it makes it super easy. There's not even a financial reason for somebody to say no to at least trying it. So, okay. Let's talk about the second thing. So ultimately, what we're trying to do when we're trying to heal is we're trying to bring the body back into balance, because the reason that we have symptoms, the reason that we might have a chronic condition that doesn't heal, is because we're out of balance. Let me give you an example. Everybody knows that diabetics, potentially, if they cut their foot, for example, they might have real problems healing that foot. And sometimes, if they're a little more advanced in their diabetes, they could have a simple cut on the foot that ends up in them losing their foot. Now, our immune system is supposed to take care of that. We're supposed to heal from a simple cut, right? It shouldn't be a problem, but it is a problem for a diabetic because they're out of balance. And so when you're out of balance, certain things are not going to work properly. And so what we're attempting to do with the P90, with the zeolite, which is for sure, just in case I say it again, it's PBX is the short thing for the zeolite. What we're trying to do, so one of the prime causes of imbalance is low voltage. We've discussed that. Another prime cause of imbalance is toxins. So we want to remove the toxins. Okay. If we can bring our body back into balance, it can heal from almost anything. And so that's what we're trying to do. And so there's three most critical areas that I want to talk about today. We've already done the first two. So I'm now going to do the third critical area. And I mentioned at the beginning that the P90, one of the things it's going to do is it's going to increase various things into the cells. And one of the things I mentioned was immune cells. It's going to increase immune cells. Well, immune cells are the part of the body that fights most everything that we have, whether it's toxins, whether it's cancer cells, whether it's a fungus or a bacteria. All of that is the job of the immune system. And the problem that we have today is that most people's immune system is not functioning optimally for a range of reasons. So one of the reasons is that your immune system has been disabled because you've been vaccinated. And this, I'm not talking about the COVID vaccine particularly, although that would be included. I'm talking about all of them. So let me just explain. Your immune system is an intelligent system. That is to say that it learns, okay? And to learn and to act upon that means that you have information. So even artificial intelligence, let me explain, artificial intelligence is the same. So you have information that can be read and acted upon. So a computer programmer is going to write a program, that's information, it's then read and it produces whatever it might be, an app or something. Okay, so that's all intelligent systems. Did you know it's possible to corrupt the data on your computer? Right, it's possible for your app or your website to start not functioning properly because something got corrupted. I'm sure you know that. Well, the same thing can happen with your immune. Why do you think that people suddenly become allergic to peanuts, which are totally harmless but suddenly can kill some people, or egg, or other stuff? What's going on there? Why is the immune going crazy at a peanut? Why? Well, it's because the data in your immune is being corrupted, in this case by a vaccine, because what happens is they vaccinate you with some horrible toxins, and it also contains some peanut essence or egg especially, or whatever. It contains innocent things. So your body is attacked and it goes to defend itself and it's looking at what's attacking it, and amongst that stuff is some innocent stuff like peanut or egg or something else. So your body now believes that the peanut or the egg or the pollen or whatever it might be is part of the attack, and next time it's exposed to just the peanut without the other toxins, it reacts like it's under horrific attack. Hopefully that makes sense. So what's happening then is that the data that the immune now has is wrong. It now believes innocent things are terrible things, and it's going to go crazy and attack them. So that's a data corruption problem. So with a computer, it's quite easy to sort. We can just, download and overwrite the data and put the correct data back in. But what do we do with the immune? Well, it's really amazing to know that there's a system of correcting data in the immune. So the immune has a brain. So I'm calling it a brain. Scientists wouldn't call it that, but I'm calling that because really effectively that's what it is. So the immune system collects data and it uses that data. And the data is stored in a little molecule. It's a protein molecule, and it's called transfer factor. And we can supplement transfer factor. Transfer factor is only made by the immune, for the immune. It's not found in food. You're not getting it in your diet or whatever. But you can take transfer factor from a strong immune and overwrite and correct the corrupted data in your immune. That's the first thing. And so this is really important for everybody who's immune. So all the people with autoimmunes, for example, allergies, sensitivities, all of this, where the immune is not functioning correctly, this is really, really important for them. They have a solution that can start to fix that problem. Now, the second part of the problem with the immune, so the first is corrupted data. The second problem is suppression. So many of us, most of us, because of the bombardment of toxins, our immune is overworked. And when your immune is overworked, much like when you were overworked, you get tired and you don't feel like doing anything. Well, your immune gets crushed by the weight of all the toxins and the problems that we're faced with in the modern world. And it stops making as many immune cells, for example. So they say, the doctors tell us that everybody gets cancer all the time. It's a regular occurrence in our bodies, but usually our immune system takes it out before it's even recognizable. The problem when somebody gets cancer and they get a tumor and they come down with, diagnosed with cancer, it means that their immune system wasn't able to do the job of taking it out in the early stages. And so that means a suppressed immune. So one of the key immune cells, for example, some of you may have heard of, it's called the natural killer cell. I love the name. It's like an assassin, natural killer cell. And the natural killer cell's job is to take out problem cells that are damaged beyond repair, or foreign proteins, for example, and so on and so on. Anything that shouldn't be there, basically, it's meant to take out. The problem is, if you don't have enough of them, or they're weak, then you can't do that. And then if you get some cancer cells or other problematic things, whatever it may be, foreign proteins, whatever it is, your immune system is not able to deal with that. So what this transfer factor supplement can do is it can boost your natural killer cells by a huge amount. Not just a small, like 10 or 20% or even 50%, it can literally boost it by hundreds of percent, with depending on which version is used, up to over 400%. And it starts working within hours. Your numbers start to go up. So as a consequence of this, having a strong immune, ultimately, actually I should say this, ultimately if you get well from cancer or from fibromyalgia or from whatever it may be, any chronic disease, if you get well, it's ultimately was your immune that did it. So chemotherapy does not cure cancer, can't cure cancer, only your immune. If you reverse it, your immune has done it, whatever it is. If you can't reverse it, your immune has a problem. So if we can increase our immune, we're going to have very much better outcomes. I'm going to give you an example. A study was done on this product, and we had a few hundred, it was done by a pediatrician on his whole practice, and he had a few hundred kids taking transfer factor, immune modulator, and he had a bigger number not taking it. And he studied them for 5 years to see the results, the difference, if there was one, between those on transfer factor and those not. These are just everyday kids, not necessarily sick people, just kids. What he discovered was that over 5 years, the kids on the transfer factor had 74% less sickness. That is staggering. Do you know of anything that can do that? Because I don't. 74% and 84% less antibiotics. Just imagine if your whole family was taking that, the difference it would make to your health. Imagine if the whole country did that. Now, by the way, this is something recognized by the doctors. This is something actually in the physician's desk reference. They're allowed to use this. This was the very first natural supplement that made it into Russian hospitals. This had a very strong pedigree, lots of proof. I'm going to, again, because we're in a private call. Oh, no, it's recorded. Okay, that's scuppered that one. I was about to give you an amazing testimony another time. But anyway, so transfer factor then has the ability to radically reduce your sickness.
We can do something after the recording. I'll stop the recording and we can have a little bit of Q&A and a little bit more
Right.
up-to-date things.
Right, just remind me then. So radically change your health like nothing else ever discovered. 74% less sickness. Now, just imagine any one of these things, the transfer factor, the nano zeolite, the P90, every one of them is amazing in its own right. Every one of them is a potentially life-changing thing. Just imagine putting those three together when they all have different mechanisms, and not just different mechanisms, but they work hand in glove. That what they do complements each other. The results when you combine these three things are out of this world, astronomical. I have seen so many. I've just had a girl today who was very badly damaged by the Pfizer, and she's been for years going into the doctors trying to fix it. She's been in an absolute state. She's just done a couple of these products, transfer factor P90 and the PBX, and just had a blood test. For the first time in years, the doctors are shocked at the results. They're asking her, what the heck are you doing? They just can't believe that it's turned around the way that it has. She's just posted the results today, her blood test results. But I'm hearing these kind of stories all the time. When my own wife had cancer, it was this was the platform that I used to help her. She was cancer-free in 6 to 8 months. Anyway, so that's a very rapid fire, quick overview of these three products that work together to make each one of them work better, so that you're getting a much greater part than the sum of its parts, a much greater result. And I recommend that really every single person should be doing these three things as a foundation for their health, and we would have massively different situation in the health outcomes of our family or our country if everybody did this. So I'll pass back to Luigi, and any questions and stuff can be dealt with then.
So I want to bring on another speaker who's going to touch a little bit on the last product that we're talking about too. It's one of our uplines, and very helpful. I've already been on and off with her on Zoom a couple of times. Angela, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. You want to share a little bit of your knowledge on the company a little bit and about that product too, and add to what Ethan said. And it's all yours. And yes, we'll after the recording, we will have a little bit of a Q&A, and we'll share a couple of stories too that will be a little bit easier to do at that moment. So it's all yours.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to really validate our company and the power that we hold. So first of all, we're known as the immune system company of the world. Our company's name is OlyLife Research. And the way that our company was established in 1998 was our owner was a scientist who was looking for the missing link to wellness, because he knew that only the body can heal the body. You know, we live in a society where we treat and chase symptoms rather than listening to the symptom. And so he had a totally different outlook on how to approach wellness as opposed to chasing symptoms. He discovered a patent in a medical library, and this patent was developed by the father of immunology. So when this patent was established, it just sat on a shelf, and that's because this doctor was on the forefront of fighting tuberculosis and then eventually was fighting AIDS. And because that was his job, their focus went in the area of vaccine and antibiotics, and this patent was just sitting on a shelf. So our founder, David Lisenby, went to that doctor and asked to purchase the patent, and he granted it to him because of his answer, which was, I want to take it to the world. We have been offered millions and millions of dollars to buy this patent by the pharmaceutical world, but David Lisenby refused to do that because he knew that it wouldn't get into all of our hands. He believes it should be in every home, which is basically what Ethan and Luigi were saying. So that's just a short history. I could give you an in-depth history if you ever want me to do that on the science behind it, but this isolated molecule was named by that father of immunology, Dr. Sherwood Lawrence. He named it transfer factor because it transfers the facts. That's its job. So it recognizes any and all threats. It knows the right response to bring to that threat. It remembers that response. So if it ever has to encounter that that pathogen again, it doesn't have to have a discovery period. It just already knows what to do. And so then it can clean up the mess, repair the body, and bring the body back into homeostasis or rest, which is really where we should be. That should be our resting state. Ethan mentioned that our bodies are not very healthy. Our immune systems are basically corrupted. Our science shows that a 25-year-old male American man's immune system is working at about 18 to 20%, and that's it. 18 to 20%, can you imagine? What if our immune systems were working at 74% or 80% or 100%? Now, I will tell you, it won't really ever reach that 100% and stay, because your immune system is always readjusting based on your emotion, based on whether you exercised, whether you were just exposed. It's a very delicate balancing dance that its job is to do. So many people think that inflammation is the bad guy, but Ethan also mentioned a while ago that if you twisted your ankle, you're going to get inflammation, which is blood and lymph, or a type of water that goes to that site, because you cannot heal without inflammation. But if your inflammation is ignorant, it will not do the right thing. It'll either do nothing or way too much, right? It'll attack the wrong thing. So I'm going to give you a testimony that is compliant. And I'm not making a claim ever that transfer factor heals you. Right now in your body, you're making them, and transfer factor has a very particular job. Its job is to recognize and bring the right response. So I'm going to tell you the story of a 12-year-old little boy who went on a family vacation with his family into the mountainous areas. I think it was the Smoky Mountains, and they went wild caving. Well, bats live in caves, and bats have poo, and there's a fungus that lives in bat poo, and that's just the way it is. So anytime you've ever been around a bat, if it's an enclosed area, you could breathe in those spores. Well, for 2 years after the vacation, no one was sick. Everybody's healthy. And again, this is a 12-year-old healthy boy. And 2 years later, the little boy begins to have difficulty breathing, and nobody knows what's wrong. He's never been really sick before, other than like a childhood flu or whatever, stomach virus. So they bring him to the hospital, and what they discover is that he has a fungus growing in his lungs that is common in bat poo, and they traced it back to that event. And for 2 years, his body could kill the fungus and remove the waste up until that 2-year period. So when the mother was talking to me, I asked her, I said, what happened right before your son ended up in the hospital and couldn't breathe? Did he take an antibiotic? Did he have a shot? Did something happen just right before this lung illness happened? And she said, oh my gosh, yes. He had an infected toe, and he had 1 round of antibiotic. 1 round of antibiotic is going to destroy about 2/3 of your microbiome in your bowel, which is 80% of your immune system. And so I said to her, I said, honey, that's your problem. For 2 years, his body kept that fungus at bay and could kill it. And, we've got spores and all kinds of things all over us and in us that live in us. And we just need to, like Ethan said, they have to stay in balance. They cannot overgrow, or they cause damage or dis-ease. And so she said, well, do you think this transfer factor stuff can heal him? I said, absolutely not. But transfer factor can re-educate the immune system so it knows how to do what it was doing before the antibiotic. So we did that. He started on the product in March of 2019. And by September, now this little boy was up for a lung transplant. They said he would not heal. There was no cure for this lack of, or scar tissue, or kind of like a plaque that was developing in his lungs. No cure for it. And we put him on the transfer factor, and by September, his lungs were clean. He had a clean bill of health. So not only did it put the fungus back in remission, but it cleaned up all the mess. And you guys, that's super important, because the immune system don't just recognize a pathogen. It has to know the right response. It has to clean the mess. It has to repair the damage and go back into rest. So with that, Luigi, I'll pass it back over to you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, first of all, thank you so very much, both of you, for coming here tonight. And I just want to emphasize, we're a wonderful community, and we have some wonderful people that we've been working together now for 4 or 5 months. And the journey has been life-changing and also very enriching, because we've attracted some good people, and it's just great people in our community. I mean, I've worked with a lot of networks, but we've attracted a good group of people. And at the end of the day, like I think it's nice that we're doing OlyLife, and it's just by itself, it's great. I mean, if you were to ask me right now, well, like it's like when you buy a Ferrari, right? You buy a Ferrari. Well, OlyLife is a Ferrari. All right, you got the best car. But you know what? I buy a Ferrari, but maybe my friend is going to buy a Ferrari and add some options on it to make it even more powerful, to make it even richer. So, like, you have a Ferrari by itself, it'll do the job. Yes, it will. It's doing the job right now for a lot of people. But once you understand all these little ins and outs and left turns and all these other things that surround us, how many people that we know that are a little bit further than you or have issues a little bit more chronic? Well, you're going to need a little bit more, like, because becoming healthy is a combination of many things. I mean, Ethan is also somebody who he has protocols of 6 or 7 steps, and he has also different steps for other things. So what we tried to do as a community was, let's find something that has a kind of a circle of life that could pretty much help 80 to 90% of issues that we may face in our lives or people that we know. I'm not talking about some extreme cases. Some extreme cases you might need even a little bit more than these 3 steps. But we can actually touch a lot of lives just with these 3 steps alone. Now, do you have to do all 3 steps? Of course not. There's no obligation. You want to just do OlyLife, you do OlyLife. You want to do OlyLife and one of the 2, do one of the 2. You want to do OlyLife and the other 2, go ahead. So this is like a information call that I'd like to have every week. Today we touched about like the nano zeolite, which is something that gets rid of the extra toxins that you cannot eliminate by yourself, especially the metal ones. So I kind of find that intriguing. I'd rather get rid of all the toxins because toxins are the root of all diseases, right? Let's be honest here. Then after that, when you start learning about the factor, I mean, like I think if I understood right, Ethan the other day, it said, or it was Sandra, I'm not sure if it was 400% or 300% improvement on your immune system. Is that correct, Ethan? Was it something like that?
437% increase of natural killer cells alone. It does a lot for other cells as well, but that's the key one. 437, huge. Nothing comes close to that.
Well, do you understand what he just said? Like 400% more killer cells to get rid of all the, like whatever chronic cells that are trying to destroy your body inside. And imagine how preventive when you start like dabbling in a couple of protocols, even at your stage right now, you may not have reached that point where you're chronically sick, but imagine preventing those issues to, like what do we all strive for? I think what we all strive for is getting older without being too sick, right? We're all going to die. There's no question about it. That before dying, can we be as healthy as we can and enjoy life? Because sometimes you see old people enjoying their lives at 80, 90 years old, and they're walking outside with their dog, and they're still healthy. They're genetically programmed like that. Other people, well, most of us, unfortunately, are not programmed like that. And especially in this day and age, and we're not going to get into any politics here or any conspiracy theories, but we are right now being bombarded by toxins left and right. And a lot of chronic issues that are actually happening to people, they probably have solutions for it, but it's a big business. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm allowed to my opinion. It's a big business, so they'd rather just put a Band-Aid on it. So now we won't get into that because we'll be here for an hour. I'd like to thank everybody who came on. We can stay on just a couple of minutes more. I just want to stop this recording. Yes, if you like something that you heard here tonight, if one of the extra products, yes, that's the rabbit hole that goes down deep. Exactly, Michelle. We won't get into that. We'll spend 2 hours on it. If you want to learn more about anything that you've heard tonight, reach out to your sponsor, the person who invited you to the call, or the person who invited you to OlyLife, and tell them that you want that product, if that's what you want, okay? And if you want that product, well, if your sponsor doesn't want it, well, then reach out to anyone that you want in OlyLife. I don't care, all right? But first, ask your sponsor. Now, with that all said, we'll see you all on the next protocol call next week.